to everyone who's joined us this evening, and we're here to celebrate a very special cause as well as a very interesting project. And I would like to thank Kathiwada City House and on behalf of Prinseps, I'm grateful to everyone who's joined us here. We've got three very interesting people on the sort of stage with us here, I think, and each of them have synergies and overlaps in the work that they do. And through this discussion, I'm hoping that we can draw out those very inspiring stories and learn more about the collaborations and the work that they've been doing. I would love to start by actually asking Ms. Sangita here that you've been an avid collector, and over the past few years you've established Kathiwada City House, and we keep seeing how many innumerable events that are happening every weekend. I would love to know more about if there is a trend that you follow while collecting art, or if there is a sort of like theme, or what sort of drives your collection when it comes to art.
Thank you, Brijeshwari. Welcome everybody to Kathiwada City House. I'm delighted to have you all here. Thank you for being here, Michael. It's a great joy to have you and to know about the great work that you're doing. And Helen, it's been wonderful interacting with you while you've been putting up your absolutely amazing and stunning photographs, which I love, and everybody else does too. As they walk in, it brings in so much color and joy. So about collecting, the first thing is color and joy and energy. I think the first thing that somebody should respond to with a work of art is, what is your energetic response to a work of art? Instead of just going straight away, what's the name of the artist, how much it is, what's the size, is it canvas, is it oil, is it photo? So for me personally, it's always been an energetic response. And when I started collecting, which is when I was 17 years old, and I should not tell you that it was 40 years ago. I just revealed my age, but that's okay. In those days, there was nothing like, am I buying this? Are you calculating? Yeah. Just get down and fucking laugh me straight away.
Great.
Great, okay, thank you. And so I would go to say all the established art galleries, Control, Kemol, when I was an art student. And I would be sitting there and I would be looking at a work of art that I had no connection with the name. It was just that I loved this Varanasi series, it was beautiful. I responded to it, and then I'm negotiating. I'm telling Gazima Pardo that I have only this much money that my mother sent me for that duck that I can buy from Sophia College. I've collected over 3 months and I've come to buy art. And there's this bearded gentleman sitting there, and I'm telling them, my mother sent me this money from Indore so that I can, and I've saved it up. So this gentleman is saying, young lady, are you from Indore? I said, yes. What makes you come to the gallery? I said, I'm studying art, history of Indian art, I'm attracted to art. And I can't afford this work. Whose work is this? Can you believe it? Who it was? Do you want to take a guess? I'm from Indore, and this gentleman with a big beard is asking me. Take a guess. Hussain Saab, thank you. So it was no other than Hussain Saab himself. And he said, I was born and raised there, I studied there, you name your price, whatever money you have in your pocket, the painting is yours. Wow. So that's a wonderful story, because that is how innocent art purchasing was in those days. Now it comes with layers of what it is, how much it is, what is the medium, what is the size, but it has its own value, and I'm not saying that's different than what we did then. But to answer you, was there a theme, was there a big calculation and a plan and an idea? I'm sorry, it wasn't. In the days that I was attracted to art and purchased art, including my son who was 6 years old when he bought his first painting, because I took him to Jahangir Art Gallery, and he actually stood in front of an artwork which was just like the colors you have in the Manikers. Pink. It was a Prafulla Mohanty. I still have it. It was the same girl. He wouldn't leave. 6 years old. I want to buy it. I hope he's not coming downstairs because he'll say, I want to buy that, I want to buy this, I want to buy this. All the things.
Just to scold him.
So for the new collectors, since you asked me what is the theme and what's the advice, I think it's far more systematic. How you make the collection so, and I think they should keep that awareness. Because if I purchased a Hussein work of 1960s, then of 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s and 20s till he passed on, I'm able to create a story of Hussein Saab's works which I can put up on a wall and talk about. So I think that makes for a richer collection, that makes for a much better storytelling, that makes for students of art, professors of art, artists themselves understand the journey of an artist, which is sometimes very lonely. I mean, even you might feel that. Even though you're photographing. Ketan bhai, please, agar abhi jao. So that's how the collections get built. Now, far more systematic with the amount of information and awareness that's shared. It is also easier because people can study and research on their handphone, which is what we didn't have in our days. We went to every gallery. So some of the charm of the interpersonal relationship is lost. But some of it has become easier to purchase. So I hope I've been able to answer the first question that you asked.
Thank you. Yeah, great stories. I mean, about all those. But I think when you're talking about color and these walls itself, with the because they're so usually designed, Helen, your works have really popped and are just looking fantastic on the walls. I think everyone can agree with that. I would love for you to tell everyone a little bit more about the Kumari Naika story and how did you find yourself in the deserts of Jaisalmer?
I was invited in India by the Basri Foundation to do some other work, and I went to Jaisalmer and bumped into Michael Daube by a chance. And when we started talking, he explained me that he had opened this wonderful school for girls in the rural, Jaisalmer in the desert that everybody has seen on Instagram, I think, around the world. And he explained me that he wanted to work with women artists to do a work engaging the girls. I thought it was such a wonderful idea, and so I started thinking. I was doing a series at the time which I think was not especially designed for that idea. So I gave it a lot of thought, and just after that I went to the Folk Museum in Delhi, and saw those great Punjabi pads, these great like horizontal works that are done on paper or on fabric, and that tells the story of Punjabi. And I was explained that they were made to be the backdrops of performance by bards on the different city plazas and stuff. And I've always been very touched by the imagination and freedom of spirituality and mythology in India, which has a different link than in Western countries. Mythology and spirituality here is very intertwined, and it's like you have all those gods and all these avatars that come back to the real world every time something's wrong, and it's like it's a very fluid and interesting storytelling device to keep people to remind people of our world, of how we have to stay, connected to our world, make it better, etc. So suddenly when I saw the Punjabi pad, I thought, that's it, that's what I have to do. I should go and work with these girls and tell them, let's invent a new tale that is related to what world you want to live in. And I have a group of girls and I give them all different parts. And I told Michael, great idea, let's do it. So we just swinged it, and we decided, let's do it, and just figured it out. And did it with very small means. And I had a group of 16 girls. So I first had a class, a daily class with them, and asked them, what do you want to do? They were from 8 to 12. These girls, they wanted pictures. So I first asked them, what world do you want to live in? what would you like in this world, what don't you like in this world, and it became quickly very interesting. And the first things they wanted, the first they told me was greens. The second thing was waterfalls in the desert. And I had this idea. I had kind of a preconceived because I was aware I couldn't invent a whole story with kids from 8 to 12 in 4 days. So I had like preconceived a story in my head, but I didn't want it to. It had to fit their world, not mine. So my boundaries that I had to please to fit their world, to fit their wishes. I couldn't put something in it that was not my wishes. And so the third thing they said, to be honest, is peacocks, and the fourth thing they said was butterflies. And I had this idea of Princess Ruti, blue girl, who is blue because she's the daughter of a lost river, a vanished river in the sun, and she comes back to the desert as an avatar to like give them back hope and bring back water in the desert and bring back hope to this land. And I knew she was going to interact with two guys, two kids, a bad boy and a good boy. The good boy had this idea of a butterfly shepherd who raises butterfly to disseminate life in the desert and beyond. There's a magician who helps them disseminate life not only in plants but in spirits. But anyway, I had this idea which I thought was cool, and I had a butterfly costume from a film that I've done a while ago. So I took my butterfly and I was like, how are we going to want a butterfly around the desert? And the fourth thing we said is butterflies! And I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. So then I worked with them, and I had two boys in the story, so I had both moustache to make them look like boys. But they incarnated the characters so well that I didn't need the moustache. They became those two. The bad boy, the bold girl, is just amazing. She became such a terrible, scary person. And the other was the blue. If I show you their faces, like it was so touching. So we worked on the characters for 4 days, and somebody gave me a very good advice to work on their names, because names are so significant in India. And working on their names, we worked on all the characteristics of the characters. So when we finally got, and I decided who was going to play who, I had the idea of the two brothers, because two of the girls I wanted to play the boys were sisters. At the beginning I wanted them to be princes or something.
At that point, and
because the brothers made it like a very Shakespearean thing, to like have a brothers fight around the world with like grown-ups and like really like tear the other one apart. So anyway, so we worked on the characteristic of each character through their names with them, which was very interesting. For example, the bad guy, I had spotted who I wanted to play the bad guy, and I kind of oversold it to them because I was afraid they only would want to play only the princess. So I explained to them, he's very handsome and very smart. He's cunning and he's a really terrible guy, but he's like very interesting. And so we started working on the names, and they said different names. I was on the board, I would write everything. And suddenly the teacher who was translating me told me that one said Marish, which means mirage. It was such a profound choice from them to call the bad guy, like the guy who mirage. It's like I was blown away by this decision from an 11-year-old. It was like, so it all went like this. And when I did the photograph, actually, because we had done all this work, we knew who they were playing, so you can see how powerful they are. And I was the first one to be surprised. I just wanted to do the big photograph, like my Punjabi ID, but all the single images are incredible because of their interpretation. But it's been like, honestly, thinking like one of the greatest experiences in my life, and I've done a lot of things. Like Sangita, I started absolutely. So it's like it's been an incredible run and a very special art project.
Like talking about the school, and I guess this project would have not started if it wasn't for Michael, who actually went and ideated the entire school. So if you can tell us a little bit about the school and why Jaisalmer.
Hard to follow these guys. First of all, I just want to say a quick super thanks to all of these women because Prinseps is doing this and it's really helpful to us to support the girls in the school and this creative energy we're trying to get moving there. And Sangita, who has probably the most amazing taste in India, and their engagement with art and creativity and letting us use the space. It's really amazing. And Helen for coming and doing this work. It's always been a dream of mine to bring this creativity to the school. A female artist going to work with these students. Helen's the first, and I have to say it's even more successful than I thought it would be because it's become a world of its own, and I hope we continue that legacy afterwards because also we still have a lot of visits to the world to do. But basically, to get back to the school, I'm an artist by trade, but my love for art is basically anthropology, archaeology. So whether it's contemporary art to ancient art, I have a fascination with the way that humans create objects reflecting their existence through geography, belief systems, materials they have, and societal values. So it took me to many corners of the world, and I started really at a weird skill set where I could just walk into a village somewhere in the middle of nowhere and create like a hospital in Adivasi Orissa or with the Tibetans, near Kailash, create like schools and women's cooperatives. And so they're mostly remote areas, but basically Jaisalmer, it was this architect friend of mine, her name is Robin Elmsley Osler, and she's one of these famous Helene Guetary models that you see. But she was an architect, and her husband, they went to Jaisalmer to the World Heritage Fund, Monument Fund, to work on that fort. So they were staying with the royal family there at the time, and so we were all talking to them. They were telling them the plight of, the joys of the area, the culture, the Hungarian, the stone carving, the amazing culture, and then the struggles that people have in terms of like opportunities for girls, education, and things centered around that. These very orthodox communities in the villages. So they came back to New York and they said, Michael, I know you do these kind of schools and hospital things in all these different parts of the world. This place you need to go look at. And I had visited years ago, Jaisalmer. I went back and I met with the royal family and we discussed things. And I would keep going back and assessing that region because I had all these other projects going on in the world. So it gave me time to really consider what the best thing to do is. And I did feel like a girl's environment would be a safe environment for them to learn and to express themselves would be the best way to go in that region. And so it can be both because it's the only project I've done that's near to like a city center at Jaisalmer. Most places are like 12 hours through a jungle with machete or 5 days through the Himalayas. It's not an easy, it's not club like. So it's basically, I couldn't take people there. I go and see the communities, it's amazing, but unless you're an adventure seeker, it's like these object scorpions and stuff like that. So this is the first place where I could actually have people come, like donors, designers, educators, just general public. I thought, wait, let's rethink this. Let's do something more interesting. So that's when my artistic nature, my background in art, I was able to bring that into this project. And this is the first time I've been able to do something like that. So I brought an architect friend from the US who helped design an amazing circular building. Then I had another designer friend, Sachi, do the uniform for the girls, and Ajra, who was quite beautiful. And Star Art Collective came and did artwork that I curated for each classroom, scaling up from the little kids and like graffiti all the way to Shiloh did this amazing piece at the end with the female leaders. So I really want to expose these girls to their first-time learners from their families. So basically, neither the parents are educated. They have no idea what homework is or anything. And they're from very basic villages. And I just thought, what would happen? Because they already come from this kind of creative village life, and you're teaching them, why don't you imbue them with like this kind of creativity or imagination? Because I feel like you can be given a lot of information, but unless you have that kind of imagination or creativity to put it together in different ways, like artists tend to do, it's to me, it doesn't feel like a very fruitful way of using information, like just rote learning. So that's what the whole kind of nexus of this project is, kind of give these girls an amazing creative environment and education, and engage in education and see where that leads. And I think it's so far it's amazing. They're incredibly confident now, especially after this whole program that we did with Helen. You would see these girls see the process of, say, how a Bollywood movie is made, how a magazine cover is magic to these people, and then to see themselves in the artwork, in these characters. They got so involved in the whole process. You could see they made like light years of a leap into being able to handle things with agency, their own confidence in their own life. So I'm really hoping that this project can eventually become a mindset change for the whole region on how girls are treated in the social system, and the opportunities that are given, and so it's not considered a failure in the family to allow girls to work or study, but it's actually a boon for the family. And I'm hoping this can be replicated in other parts of this way.
Well, that's very inspiring and great to know. I mean, I hope everyone can get a chance to actually visit Jaisalmer and see the school firsthand. But I think, as you said, that they're first-hand learners of in their families, and they must have been very, very fascinated by what Helene was up to. So I would love to know more about what did you have a lot of questions from these young girls? What was the sort of reaction and interaction that you had with them?
Actually, it's an interesting question because I was myself, when I arrived in Jaisalmer was last December, actually, or end of November. And when I arrived there, they had like gathered 16 girls, and I felt like, oh my God, what am I doing? It's like I felt like really, how am I going to connect with those kids from the desert? I'm just like, crazy French woman who's been around the world for years, and I was so simple and so organic. And they freed themselves so quick. I have such a great connection with them. We just installed that USB picture in the hall of the school, and they sent me a picture with them reenacting their character in front of it. I thought it was such a great gesture for them to do that. When I actually the creative process was so simple because I engaged them personally, asked them, what do you want? How do you think such character should be? So it was very interesting because I could see them engaging and opening up to the process. There was no shyness. Like one of them, which is amazing, is like a little magician. She's super shy. And like when in class she was like crazy, she would go like this, and make sure that I understand what's her point and what she wanted to bring into the story. And there's not one bad picture of her. It was really just an amazing journey to share a world of the imagination with the kids. And to me, they're really big. They invented all this, but it totally inspired me, and they were a big part of the process. And when I finished, I came back to the school and we gave them a class to close the session to make sure they understood the value of what we did, like the impact of what we did. Like they were part of a creative process, and imagination is not only something to evade. It's like a very powerful tool to create things. And so we wanted to make sure they understood that. And they really did. So we started saying, I mean, again, they are from 8 to 12, they are really small kids. So we said, so what did you like? Oh, I liked being and then one said, I like being a character, part of a story. So then we picked up on it, and then everybody got into that groove, that fact. And it was such a pride and a pleasure and profound joy for me to have transmitted and shared this with those little creatures, because the question was like, how did you engage with them, and did they have any question? No, it was just like absolutely natural process of human collaboration between me, the old crazy French girl, and these little island angels from the desert. And this is such a lesson because people don't collaborate anymore. People talk on WhatsApp, put everybody in a box, there's all this like modern box thinking of this is this is that. Collaboration, cultural appropriation. Collaboration is so important. And these kids really nurtured this envy I had to a great extent of what I envisioned. And for me it was very important that they got this and this together.
Yeah,
I think one's going to be a great director. I know which one. Which one, like the gold one. She would steal my camera and say, you should do it this way.
I think that's also such a wonderful way of actually engaging students and youngsters in the arts itself, right?
Yes.
Because like today's talks, discussions, topic is imagination and education. I think somewhere kids are not left to imagine freely. So I think this project of yours really would have allowed them that creative stimulation and exposure to really think beyond.
I see that, I really believe that kids, you don't have to show them, they know that. You have to just plant it in their head when it's not there for nothing, and they should always remember that. And I hope some of them, that it's going to stay in there, because I know they got it. And I didn't have to explain, it just happened. Some of them were really shy, and I didn't know what I was going to do with them. And when we started playing the demons, we were worse than Jack Nicholson. They were such amazing interpreters, So it shows that they engaged and identified and appropriated the project, which was really not hard to do. It's not. Maybe I had the crazy idea to ask them to do this, but once I was there, and once I connected with them, it was very easy. And I think it's a great thing of the children, and that people should nurture, and you.
Yeah, so no, I wasn't asking for the mic. I
was actually going to direct the question to Ms. Kathiwada next. That obviously we know about all the wonderful projects you're doing in Mumbai over so many years, but you're also working and have worked on a lot of projects in Kathiwada with marginalized, with tribal communities, many of which are education-centric. I would love to know more about these, as well as have the people learn more about the challenges that you may have faced while doing that.
So it seems like Helen and Michael face no challenges. It sounds like such a beautiful fairy tale stories, but everything that looks so beautiful has its own problems. Yeah. So don't go by all these gorgeous, beautiful pictures. I'm sure behind this glamour there was a lot of grind that they both had to deal with, and many others. And the same things happen to me all the time. It's been my journey of 40 years in Kathiwada, and then I got married, and then I was a very young girl who lived in Barda with the saris, and my best friends were a mahuwa tree and little tribal girls from the village, because I was strictly vegetarian and married in a family where the dining table from here to there had every creature that could crawl. And I would just cry and go under this mahuwa tree and sit there wondering what am I going to eat. And my best friends were all these little girls who used to come from the village to come and tuck in my sari, and for them it was like, oh my God, Rani Sam is sitting here. and they would come to like touch all the silk clothes, and they became my friends. So what I'm trying to say is to draw parallel between what happened to you as a complete, I shouldn't say stranger, but another nationality coming to a desert land in India. I was at least an Indian who spoke their language, who spoke Hindi. So I think art has no language. It has its own language that unites and binds people. I wasn't bound to them by art, but I was bound to them by a certain tradition, and any tradition and culture is deeply rooted in art and creativity. So that's how we became friends, just as you became friends with these beautiful girls, and look at this amazing stuff that came out of it. So the challenges I faced were mostly language oriented, so I started speaking their language quickly. In the days that I went to a forested area, you went to a desert and there was no electricity. So the challenges were humongous. If you had to build something, I lived in the city of Mumbai where 24-hour we had electricity. And then I'm in this village where I'm wanting to go to schools, talk to the girls, bring them to the house. I mean, you could talk to them anything personal. Even today is taboo. Even today, 40 years later, they don't want to discuss anything that's personal. In fact, they'll feel more comfortable talking to Helen than they would to me.
Yeah.
Because they think me as one of their own who's going to be a repeat influence in their lives. But they would imagine that Helen and Michael are coming and going and it's okay. Somehow they can drop their guard. So it's, they feel more comfortable. So I think you were able to bring that out of them because they felt a sense of comfort, because they didn't feel judged. Even though I wouldn't judge them, they would always feel like I know them, I know their families. So my challenges were much bigger, Helen, even though I
No, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, so it's in fact, in terms of relationship, in terms of communicating, in terms of connecting, sometimes it's easier when you feel less judged than it is with me. So I had to work very hard to break into the school that we have in Kathiwada. I would celebrate my son's birthdays there. I would visit them every time from Bombay, take their rubber slippers, take their sports kits. I had to literally wean them out of their discomfort of shying away and hiding into their mother's pallus. It took me about 3, 4, 5 years, but we are great friends and we now have built an amazing school for them where they come and they speak in English because we insist on them speaking in English, even if I'm not saying they should forget their own languages, but it helps them, right? So, because it was back in the day, the challenges were not just overcoming the communication, but there were many physical and practical challenges in the forest without electricity. But now we have 24/7 electricity. I'm grateful things are happening and things are moving. We are able to hospitals, schools, and girls are going to school, boys are going to school, they're going to a co-educational school, and they're coming to their sports ground, and there's really just so much more to look forward to, so much more, because every day is a new day, and every day we come across a new story, and each one more beautiful than the other.
That's lovely. When you're talking about challenges, last evening we were having a very entertaining discussion on the many challenges that one faces in smaller parts of India. And as you said, it's not as rosy as it looks, or easy. So I would love Michael to tell us a little bit about the challenges that you faced in Jaisalmer and what are the exciting plans to expand.
Clever story.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get into this that it's all rosy. You're doing this difficult work, as you say. It's like you tend to revel in the high spots. So you feel like, oh, it's working, but really there's a lot of trust digging that goes on to get to those spots. And one of the things I was sharing last night was a particularly interesting story. India's been evolving rapidly. The rural areas, just the governance in the rural areas. In the cities it's quicker, but I've seen it over the last 30 years change a lot. And in a place like Jaisalmer, it's quite remote. There's these collectors, the district magistrates tend to come and go. The good ones go quick, and the not so good ones stick around for a long time. So that's always the fun part. But one particular, one would come and try to present this idea to a girls' school. It wouldn't work out. Some strange ideas they had or something. So another one would come and try it again. So as I was doing my research and figuring out the whole program, and go to these different collectors. They all had personalities, were there for different reasons, didn't want to be there, had to be there. And one in particular, I realized that, because I look a little different than a lot of locals, I would send my lawyer from Delhi who was down there working with us. And I thought, I'll send him to talk to the collector, to present, maybe that'll take a new approach. So he goes there, and I'm waiting, I think Chaitanya and Java was. He comes back, it's basically a job. I said, what happened? Well, I presented the project to him, this girls' school, and it's money, we worked on this project. And he said, girls' education, not so important. What you need to do with this money is artificial insemination and poles off the road, because they're on my way to work. So that's what you need to do. So I guess we're gonna wait till the next project comes. So there's a lot of waiting it out, trying to figure out the right environment and situation to make such a big change, because nobody was talking about girls' education. Nobody felt it was important from the government down. But I do feel like now things are changing a bit. They're younger, what they call the officers, and they're interesting people. You can actually, they have hobbies and they communicate. They can hold the world now, the young people in government. So I do feel like there's room more for a public-private partnership, like say help with the local PhD for healthcare and things like that. So I think there are ways to collaborate now, but it's been a long road in terms of rural governments.
But having said that, I would just like to follow up with what are the exciting plans that you have now for expanding the girls' school, and how are projects such as these going to be able to support this plan?
Oh, what can I support?
The new center.
Oh, so the next phase, after school, so really the overall project that I've kind of envisioned in that region is called Gyan Center. So the Gyan Center is 3 different buildings really. The first is the school, the girls' school. The second is a livelihood center that'll focus on jobs for women and kind of preserving the culture, and also bringing it into the next century in terms of working with modern Indian designers with the techniques from that region. And the third one is going to be a library and local textile museum to tell about the lives of the villages through textiles and embroideries and weavings. And also a Mumbai music center, a cultural center for art. And I think Japi's expanded, and when we get the building up, they have to come and have a show with us. But so in a way, I'm trying to have I'm trying to make that whole project eventually self-supporting, which I think would ultimately be the cherry at the top of the cake. Because it's you want a charitable activity to promote education, to get jobs, but ultimately you don't want to keep pouring money into it. You want it to be kind of self-supporting. So if you can use that culture, that people who really need that support in that culture, to perpetuate the whole project, I think ultimately that would be the biggest success ever. So that's the goal. So let's see, 20 years, gotta get that done.
I think this is pretty much what patronage back in the day used to be like, right? So you're today's patron, I think, for Jaisalmer and for girl child education. Having said that, I would love to know, Ms. Kathiwada, what does patronage mean to you, coming from, being in Bombay, supporting the arts, doing a lot here for young artists as well. But at the same time, working in Kathiwada and having a completely different type of ecosystem to navigate. How would you define patronage when you live in these two parallel worlds?
Thank you, Brijeshwari, for asking such an important question, because I think patronage is completely misunderstood in the context of how it was and how it is. So the patronage that we associate with the maybe corporate sector and the royal sector in India was sometimes just out of largesse, out of a generosity, out of somebody's personal interest. So if there was a particular Maharaja who enjoyed a particular musician, then they would support that music out of personal interest. Or if there was a corporation that worked in certain areas which would help them to grow in their industrial wealth, then they would have that sort of a support to that area, say for example mining. But I think the patronage today is come down to something as little as sponsorship. And to me, that sounds very demeaning for an artistic community, because it almost seems like I will sponsor you, because there's no involvement, there's no engagement, and the person who's doling out some money starts to feel more superior than the person who's receiving. Although the person who's giving should be grateful as much to have the chance to be putting it out in an area that they want to. So we have to redefine it to understand that how we are going to be sophisticated about what patronage means. To me, if Michael wants to educate, say for example, birth children in Jaisalmer, and is able to create funding, he's not just sitting there being a patron that I've got $1 million in my pocket and I'm just going to go and do it. He's actually going, working, talking to people. Wish he had 20 millions to just put in like that. And that is a sort of a patronage which is not sponsorship, which is not patronage, it's actually engagement. It's actually following your passion, it's actually taking your vision forward and ahead. And in that, there could be 25 patrons that he could reach out to and get the funding. So it's completely a different way of disbursement and allocation of resources in different areas, which has to be understood completely differently, because the patronage as it used to be in the days bygone does not exist anymore, because it doesn't come out of that sort of a largesse where you say, here is the resource, take it and forget about me, you can have it and do it because you are doing a great job. Today, I mean, you have somebody serving a glass of wine and they want to put a banner on Murray's sea face because they are going to be serving you a glass of wine here, you know. I mean, is there any kind of patronage? It's completely, it's totally, I don't know what to say. It's got no balance, no sense of proportion. People have become sort of so, I hate to say, but it's so commercially oriented that everything is a calculation. So I'm just hoping that there will be an understanding of refined patronage where people can come together and be able to support a cause without thinking this is my cause to support. It could be everybody's cause to support. So that should become, because in the new world, we don't have the old systems and old ideas around patronage that used to exist. The world is becoming more collaborative, and we must learn to be less competitive and more collaborative, and those kind of patronages, I think, will be able to survive and people will feel a sense of connection, and that is what is required today, as against being somebody who's sitting on your throne and saying, here is the money, take it, because it's not just that anymore. It's truly about building connections, building collaborations. That should come together.
Absolutely, I think that's a very apt definition of patience for today's day and age. And I think that this particular cause and project that sort of has been spearheaded by Michael and of course Helene with the choreography. I would love to know, we keep seeing a lot of the stories unfold with the various characters in these artworks. But I would love to know what is the future of this project? How do you see it envisioning and what are the grand plans that you have?
Well, how can I say, the project evolved by itself, and because we invented a story, and before we had the first event in Mumbai at Nightfish Gallery, the gallery I worked with last April, I had written like a treatment of a story, and I was conscious that this could become an IP, intellectual property that you could sell as a book, book for kids, a novel, a live action film, animation film. And I'm a writer too, I've written novels, and so I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I thought some people got interested in it too, so I thought like this might bring like serious money to the kids at some point. I hope it will. And my dream, to be honest, is that it does bring more money when you do a film or when you do a book, and that this will be able to free those girls and give them some money to go to school. That's my grand plan, is to help them like have a life, like decide what they want to do, which we are not in the right situation to decide what they want to do in the middle of the desert in Manchester. But so we had this like dreams, and then we started like showing the work, and it's been quite successful. We have a show in New York next month, and another one in Paris in April. I'm having a show and make a special room of this part of my work, and we have some other shows in different locations that are not locked yet. So, yeah. And also, I decided to make a film, and some producers got interested in it. So we are like now developing the film, and hopefully we are going to shoot next winter. And interesting definition of this film is that it's quite entertaining. It's an ecological fairy tale. One of the people who are involved in the film said that it's like a little avatar of the desert, which is like a good definition. But we want to keep it small and keep it, shoot it in Hindi, and like do a small film in the desert that can have an international impact. And it's about ecology, it's about women empowerment, it's about the problems of the desert that are not only in Rajasthan, but are all over the world. So if we succeed in doing this, this will give like international resonance to this project for the girls, who I hope I can cast in the film, and for Michael's school and Michael Great endeavors, and what he wants to do after. We have a lot of plans with music and stuff. It has become like a very holistic project, but it's taking its wings by itself. And it's very difficult to do a film that is an impact film, is also a profitable film, because you have to make profit when you make a film. It has to make sense to the industry, and it's like mixing oil and water to do like a non-profit with profit. But I hope we succeed in this great project, and in all the going all around the world with these girls. I showed them the gallery in Paris, and they were blown away and said, "Oh, you're going to It's like it's great that it's taking its wings, and that it could have an international impact. And the film is a big project for me. That might be very far.
I want to say something. So I get a feeling that the grand plan is that there is no plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just that even when I see this photograph, I don't think you had a plan. It just happened organically.
It did.
It's my feeling. I wasn't part of the project when you were doing it, but is the beauty of this project is that there is no plan. It's emerging as you're going along. It happened because you hitched an auto rickshaw ride when this gentleman was trying to take the auto away, and you get together and this project happened. I mean, in Buddhism, we say that conditions are laid much before the action happens. So these conditions were probably laid out long before you came to make the school and you went to do the photographs, or even if I came to see the pictures. So it's just, and then the film is happening. So that's the beauty of this project, and I think if you just surrender to that, it is just going to, yeah, it's just going to have many more layers will emerge out of this, and I wish you all the very best, both of you, for that. Absolutely.
And I'd like to add a little bit to that because I do use that word nature. It's true, she tried to steal my rickshaw.
I tried what?
Tried to steal my rickshaw.
Oh,
yeah.
Still not over it. So, but I do feel like what Sangita's saying is it's true. There's kind of organic creativity. That what Helen's saying is that, from my point of view, is that we're not only helping these girls break through a sense of confidence and agency and seeing all this. It's doing such wonders for those girls, but Helen's use of coming and seeing the amazing tale of Rayana and Maharana, because India is so good at leading these amazing kind of iconic stories, taking that in her way and using that with the girls, then rising to the occasion and this going into the world. This body of work in history is going to be these girls from a village, they get activated.
It's such a beautiful story.
Yeah.
We didn't really, we didn't reach in a rickshaw, but we didn't plan this. It's true that all my life, all my work has always been, I always invent words. So it's like there's different exploitation, and I write dynamic things into art. So it's like a bit of a natural extension of my work, but it never goes so fast. We met not even a year and a half ago, and I went to Jaisalmer to do these pictures a year ago, and it's already all over the world, so it's, and it has a film in preparation, so it's just, it is something that just is unfolding with serendipity and a bizarre, momentum of him and me meeting in a rickshaw, reconnecting with a girl, and all this. There's also a lot of resonance of what I've done all my life in India. I waited very long to come here because I didn't want to come to India just as a tourist. I've been traveling all my life, but I thought I have to do something in that country. And then the Best Foundation invited me, and all this amazing stuff unfolded. Magic in India is not a joke, It's like, but I think that's Sangita is absolutely right. There's moments in life where things that you put all your passion and interest in just take off by themselves. And of course we have to drive it, but it is like a serendipitous.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's just been a sort of flow, and things have just started coming up and happening, and I feel that the reason why this project is so it's been taken so well by everyone, and there is so much interest, is also because it is a very unique narrative, and it's also a very beautiful way where you have brought these girls to the center stage of this story.
Thank you, but I how can I say, I didn't do it on purpose. It's just we believed in this. I met the girls, and they fed me as much as I fed them, and people connected. It's one of those magical moments in life. I've been around for a while, and some fun things happen to me. But this is a very special one because it involves different parts of the world, different cultures, the destiny of those kids. My livelihood now is such a great thing, to share that.
No, absolutely. I think also things what make these photographs so special are also the kind of colors we've chosen. We were talking about the fabrics and the jewelry that the girls are wearing, and I think the choice of those, as well as the way the girls are enacting these characters while wearing them, is something so special. that I do believe that whenever the movie does materialize, for someone to have these works on their own walls is going to be even more special because they have a movie to resonate.
Yeah, they'll be the first ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Get it. I'm sorry about this noise in the background, but because the panel would have finished by the time dinner service begins.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I think we can open the floor for some questions, maybe. Unless any of you would like to add something.
Any questions?
Any questions?
What? Michael, yeah.
So, what point of time did the switch turn on and you said, this is my life now, this is what I do?
Like
How did you walk this path? How did you reach?
decide to
How did it start? That's another novel.
yeah, I was just interested earlier about, I went to art school in New York in the 80s. It was insane. I mean, everybody wanted to be famous before they even made something, right? So, I just, after that whole, it was amazing. New York in the 80s, art and culture, marketing, it was crazy. But I did feel like art was something else to me. And I felt like that anthropological pull that I mentioned earlier, like studying the culture, and see, understanding the way people did things from their side made me happy. So spending time in extremely different cultures, from like Aboriginal Australia to Tibetans to Mayans, and living with these people, really kind of alone living in a community, you gain a lot of access to kind of lifestyles and the way people do things. So that made me very happy, but then you realize when you're very close to these communities, Captain Aspen can save a baby's life. And you're like, I had that in my bag. And you just, wow, you feel like you do have the power. I felt the power to do something, to change some of the weaker parts. But the cultures were so robust and amazing, but the actual lives of the people, you could have dysentery and then just die. They're so weak and then dysentery. So I started to make hospitals based on that. And I was giving a talk at Wharton's Business School in New York. They had me come and speak. It's crazy that I don't do business whatsoever. But I think they wanted me to because it was just this insane human that somebody stood up in the class. They were from India, and they were like, I don't understand. You were a 20-year-old walking to a jungle in a river instead of a hospital. So I don't kind of know how it happened. I just think engaging in those communities and just kind of like seeing their issues and then responding to that. And I think over time, I use those creative skills I might use for painting, where you have dialogue and materials, you have an idea, but you have to see what's happening in front of you, and that give and take with that object is really where the magic comes. And that's what happens in communities around the world.
Why this meeting? Why photography? Why not something else?
Well, originally I'm a painter, and very early on I started staging like scenes in photography. All that I do is kind of magic realism, like, how could I say, reality annoys me. So I have to like recreate it, and recreating it in painting is like, I mean, if you do it with photography, it gives it like an existence. It's like creating an illusion. And I started doing that a long time ago. And then I moved on to, at the same time I did films. And I like to create illusion and to give a poetic world or magical world reality. And if I use photography and compose it, because of course those are composed work, it has the dream, imaginative quality of painting, the narrative context of storytelling, and the realism of photography in the world, which actually doesn't exist. So that's why I do photography, because I like to like tweak reality. What?
How is it? You have like silver lips, blue faces, red.
You know, I don't know. To tell you the truth, I started genesis of all this work a long time ago, 40 years ago. I was painting, I was in New York, and I started working with photographer friend and staging imaginary, imaginary, tableau vivant, imaginary scenes. And I found this body paint, but I used not just as a statement to paint my people, but because I didn't have any money to buy costumes. And I started staging all these crazy scenes. My idea was to make a book of photography, like a theater, where everybody could interpret each one of the pictures their way. There was a quote in the beginning of the book from Cocteau that says, I make a table, I'm a woodmaker, I make a table, free to you to make it turn and tall. So it was like part of my statement for content of this book. And by an amazing luck, somebody saw the work. I was like 25 years old or 24 years old, not even sure, and said, "Oh, you should meet Fellini." And I said, "Well, it's a great idea." I thought it was a joke, but it was not a joke. So I met Fellini, and he was the forward of the book that came out when I was 26. And then it kick-started my career that had already started as a painter in New York, but it just really, of course, kick-started it as well for my artist work, but my film work. And I started using paint and colors, and the question you were asking me at that time. So when I came to India and started doing work here, it was like something very natural about it, because everybody's been doing it here for centuries. So I kind of like put this whole streak of my artistic personality, which I really don't know where it comes from, but in the service of all this, and it did have like a resonance with like the aesthetics of this country, which has been particularly interesting for me to find this dialogue. So
that's good. I think we can end it.
Yeah. Yes, we conclude today's discussion on that. I would like to thank all of you for being part of the discussion and for coming here and attending this as well. The photographs are on viewing at Kathiwada City House till tomorrow, and we also have an auction coming up on the Prinseps website on these artworks. But till then, the artworks are still on sale with 100% of the proceeds going to the Girls School in Jaisalmer. So I would encourage you all to start your art collecting journeys today. Thank you so much.